Breaking news. Tigray Military Command says Tigrayan forces have effectively checked a joint military offensive by Ethiopian forces and allies. The command says the offensive was meant to take up Shire, a town in northwestern Tigray, 260 kilometers from the capital. I will now proceed to other details. In a press briefing on Tuesday, Commander-in-Chief of the Tigray Defense Forces, General Taddese Warrede, said that his forces have neutralized a large-scale offensive by the allied Ethiopian and Eritrean forces that was meant to reoccupy Tigray. For a report by Sablork Lama, Sarun Tsagai.
In a press briefing today, Commander-in-Chief of Tigray Defense Forces General Taddese Warrede stated that his forces were able to neutralize a large-scale offensive by Ethiopian and Eritrean forces, which was intended to reoccupy Tigray. The attack was carried out in 3 phases that aimed to take control of major cities in Tigray, as well as disarming the Tigray Defense Forces.
Their third phase was to take control of Mekelle, Shire and other cities. In addition to this, 12 divisions of Eritrean forces coming in the direction of Dalambasa, Tsorona and Rama were to join the Ethiopian forces and take control of Adigrat, Adwa and Aksum. This was a plan meant to take control of the major cities of Tigray. The fourth phase aimed at disarming the Tigray Defense Forces. The intention of the attack is to step on any possibility for peace talks and use force instead, but they are unable to accomplish anything through force, as we have checked their attacks.
The commander-in-chief also added that Eritrean forces have invaded the town of Shararo, northwestern Tigray, clearly showing their intention of re-invading Tigray.
The forces coming in the direction of Eritrea have taken control of Shararo, Adebeti and others in northwestern Tigray. But these forces couldn't be joined by the other supportive forces from Dedevit because we didn't let them. We are listening the threats from that direction.
The commander-in-chief finally stated that the main goal of the government of Tigray is to achieve a sustainable peace.
The neutralizing operation on Tigray is an extension to the government of Tigray's peace. We can also see that it is an act to strengthen its position for peace as well as for resistance. War against your own people is a shameful act.
It is to be recalled that the government of Tigray had issued a statement on Sunday accepting an AU-led negotiation process with mutually accepted mediators.
Ethiopian Air Forces have yet again conducted a new round of drone attack bombarding Mekelle University and the capital. The attack included a postgraduate library and classrooms. We spoke to Dean of the College of Economics at the university, Dr. Aradom Gabrekidan, and some staff residents of the campus who told us the attack was carried out in the morning while the residents were asleep. Sarun Tsagai reports.
As a continuation to its genocidal campaign against Tigrayans, the Ethiopian government has yet again carried out an aerial bombardment on civilians and civilian properties. Today, on September 13th of 2022, a drone attack was carried out on several areas, including Mekelle University Adhaki campus. Dr. Adom Gabrekidan, Dean of the College of Economics at the university, tells us that the attack was carried out in the morning, while residents in the campus were asleep.
I don't have the words even to explain what's happening today morning. This is purely a genocidal activity. It happened around 10 to 7 in the morning this time. So a civilian target is attacked. This is a university which commonly known as Adhak Gibbi.
Gabra Meskel Kahsai is a security guard at the university. He was injured by the airstrike while he was on duty this morning.
الماكينة فتش لما صاحو منجو للا ذا ماكينة يعني حزي للا وكفتش لاهرخو أو تلخو وعنا مالت.
I was on my duty this morning, doing my rounds near the parking lot. I looked around and was walking towards the vehicles. Then a bomb was dropped. I fell to the ground and was hit on my leg. Someone else was also with me. He ran away after the bomb was dropped.
Library, classrooms, vehicles, and a meeting hall were among the properties attacked and damaged by the airstrike. Dr. Takhlai Tasfai and Dr. Yohannes Takhla, lecturers at the university and residents at the campus, tell us that there is no military target around the bombarded area and that children were shaken up by the heavy noise of the bombardment.
As I said, when we were asleep, a heavy bombardment, a heavy noise was heard, and all children were traumatized by the sound. So this is what happened. This is a university campus. This is a library. This is a parking. Is there any military target here? This is a university compound. But the fascist regime has bombed the campus in the morning while everybody was sleeping. So this is what happened.
Very, very bad when I see all this. In a university, in a teaching university, a civil university. Because the university can never be a target, can never ever be a target. But because our enemy is fascist, because what I can expect from a fascist is targeting such infrastructure, such civil infrastructure.
There are many complexes and buildings where many students have been actually studying here, and this is purely a civilian area. We can see this is a postgraduate library, and there are also some offices, classrooms, and something, nothing else here. So looking at these attacks, drone attacks this morning, this is purely crime against humanity. So I don't have the words even to what to say. So this is a very, very barbaric activity which happened today morning.
The residents noted that on top of the year-long siege, lack of food and medication, the recent airstrikes are devastating civilians.
It is not only the drone attack. The government has used starvation as a weapon of war for the last 14 or 15 months. We are starving. There is no medical supply. Our children are not getting medical treatment because of the siege.
The residents urged the international community to save the lives of innocent civilians that are being targeted in these attacks.
Or making efforts to stop this war. It has also been making efforts to support the people of Tigray. And we are appreciative of that. We recognize the effort. But it is not enough. It should go beyond that. This regime is determined to destroy the people of Tigray. And before that happens, the international community should act. It should act. It's not enough to express your concern. It's not enough to give statements. The international community should take it a step further and take action. It must make everything in its possession to pressure the government to stop the war and to come to the peace process.
So the UN should act, should stop the government from targeting us, from killing us, from starving us, okay, from preventing us accessing our money in banks. All this. So I call upon the UN agencies and other, relevant stakeholders to seriously stop the government from doing all this.
I have a message to the international community: save Tigray, save Tigrayans, because we have got a good cause even to defend ourselves. I don't know, to some extent, the international community remains reluctant, especially in reflecting to such kind of genocidal activities. They have been saying that we are concerned and we condemn this activity, but in the ground nothing happened so far. I couldn't see anything beyond the political appeasement that is happening. So I would like to say that please save Tigray.
The aerial bombardment comes just days after the government of Tigray had announced its readiness to abide by an immediate and mutually agreed cessation of hostilities.
Maqala University management issued a statement earlier today regarding the drone attack on one of its campuses, where it stated that the attack was a violation of international humanitarian laws that amount to war crime. The university said the attack was a continuation of the extensive bombardment campaign against civilian populated areas, and it was a clear indication that no civilian is safe anywhere in Tigray. The statement reminded that today's attack marked the third incidence of aerial bombardments on the university since the start of the war. The university management said it strongly condemns the acts of bombarding civilians and called upon the international community to put pressure on the Ethiopian government and its allies to immediately stop attacking civilians and their properties. In today's consecutive drone attacks, Dimtz Oyane, a local media outlet in the capital, was also targeted alongside Maqala University. On its statement, Dimtz Oyane said it was forced to stop televising after the attack destroyed its satellite dish and said that the channel is down from air. The Ethiopian government has now attacked one of the only two media stations operating in Tigray. Since he came to power in 2018, Abiy Ahmed has used communications blackout, media repression, and violence against journalists to ensure information is limited and narrative is in line with government propaganda. In an interview with BBC Sound, member of Tigray Central Command Getachew Reda said, despite multiple offensives and aerial attacks on Tigray, peace talks remain to be the only way out of the conflict in Tigray. Getachew stressed that this stand comes from the position of strength and not weakness.
Member of Tigray Central Command Getachew Reda said his government still believes that despite multiple offensives and continued aerial attacks on Tigray, political dialogue is the only way to bring an end to the war. In his interview with BBC, Getachew stated that this stand comes from a position of strength and not weakness.
Definitely from a position of strength, because we have stood our ground. There have been massive offensives being launched against Tigray by the combined forces of Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki. And we have been able to not only defend our positions, in many cases, their offensives have been unraveling as we speak in many parts of Tigray where offensives have been launched. Enemy forces are in disarray. As we speak, drones are targeting civilians in the capital where I am now. But peace being our strategic choice, we still insist that what is essentially a political problem can only be solved politically through dialogue.
Getachew also stated that the Ethiopian government was using the humanitarian truce to prepare itself for an attack against Tigray alongside its allies from Eritrea.
Fighting was imposed on us. The cessation of hostilities unilaterally declared 6 months ago unraveled because Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki thought that they were prepared enough to launch an offensive because they thought they had secured the acquiescence of the international community to go ahead with their project. And of course, they launched an offensive with the assumption that they could crash us completely. 3 weeks on, they have not only failed miserably to carry through their project, but their forces in many fronts are crumbling like a house of cards. So it's very unfortunate that fighting resumed, but we still insist that a political solution, only political solution, is the way out, and talking is the best game in town.
Getachew highlighted that Abiy Ahmed's government needs to stop using war as a way of imposing its will on the people of Tigray, and that it should sit for peace talks.
What we are insisting on is the government's willingness to abandon the use of force as a way of imposing its will on the people of Tigray. What we are trying to do is to make sure that the will of the people of Tigray should be fully respected. And whatever we want to do within Tigray, we should be allowed to exercise an unfettered freedom, because this is pretty much what the Constitution is provided for. But it's very unfortunate people who are not ready to live by the Constitution are doing everything to stand in the way of that freedom. Nothing short of that freedom will be acceptable.
8 national political parties issued a statement earlier today appreciating the commitment of the government of Tigray to bring an end to the war by accepting African Union-led peace process. The parties also expressed their readiness to participate in an all-inclusive political dialogue to resolve the fundamental cause of the crisis. Abel Zagav reports.
On Tuesday, 8 national parties issued a joint statement appreciating the commitment of the government of Tigray to find negotiated end to the conflict through an African Union-led peace process. The parties stated that they were delighted by the announcement of the government of Tigray and expressed their readiness to participate in an all-inclusive political dialogue to resolve the fundamental cause of the crisis. The parties called upon the international community to take tangible steps to pressure countries that are delivering weapons to Ethiopia and to increase its efforts in supporting all-inclusive negotiation that achieves a comprehensive political settlement. The parties also stated that the international community needs to strongly condemn interest aggression and that it should take appropriate measures, including imposing more effective sanctions. The statement urged the United States Congress to pass their resolution calling on the administration to resume the process to determine whether genocide had been committed on Tigray, saying it was stopped with no explanation. It is to be recalled that on Sunday, the government of Tigray has announced that it is prepared to participate in peace process under the auspices of African Union that includes mutually accepted mediators and ready to abide by mutually agreed cessation of hostilities.
Despite signing international laws and protocols that forbid the involvement of children in a battlefield, the Ethiopian government has continued recruiting underage soldiers in its war on Tigray. We talked to some of the children, now prisoners of war, that tell us the government representatives would talk them into joining the army by giving them money. Sarah Kallali has more.
In its renewed attacks, Abiy Ahmed's government has continued recruiting underage soldiers for its war on Tigray. Musa Lepacho Mukonnen is a teenager from southern Wollo who says government officials in his town gathered him and other students and persuaded them to join the military, going so far as to use money to convince them.
የመንግስት አካላቶች ነበሩ እነሱ ሰብስበው ምናምን ከዛ እዚህ ቦዘኔ ከምኮኑ ትምርት ማልተከፈተ ወደ መከላከያ ገብታችሁ ሀገራችሁን ታገለግሉ ይሻላል ብለው በብር ምናምን ሰብከው ላኩን ከዛኛም ያው ተመዘገብን ትምርት ካልተከፈተ ምን ያደርግልናል ብለን ወደዚህ ዓለም ገባ እንደዚህ መሆንና አናቅም ነበር
Musa Lepacho also says that he was told he would be tortured if he surrendered to Tigrayan forces, but says he was able to peacefully surrender and is being taken good care of.
አይ ልዩነቱ እንደተባለው ከሆነ እዛ በቃ ጥፍር ቆርጣለሁ በቃ ከተያዛችሁ ስንት ትቆረጣላችሁ ትገረፋላችሁ ምናምን ነው ምንባለው እና ደግሞ እናንተ ሰራዊቱ ወደ ትግራይ ከገባችሁ ህዝቡን በውሃ በምግብ መርዝ ያረገ ምናምን ነው የሚጨርሳችሁ ምናምን እንባላለን ግን እዛ የተባለውና እዚህ ያየረው አንድ አይደለም እዚህ ጋር በጣም እንክብካቤ ያለ በሰራዊቱ ምንም አላረገንም በሰላም ስትቃችን አወረን ከዛ በእንክብካቤ ያኖሩን ምግብም ውሃም እየሰጡ ዙ ድረስ አመጡን
Another prisoner of war, Kadir Muhammad, a 17-year-old teenager from Jimma, says he was shocked by the sound of firearms and immediately surrendered to Tigrayan forces.
እኔ እንደዚህም አይቻላቅም እንደዚህ አይነት ውጊያ የመጀመሪያ ነው በቃ በዛም ሲተኮስ እጅ ሰጠው አስቀድሜ ምንም ሳልተኩስ ማለት ነው 200 አጥይት እና አንድ ቦምብ ክላሽ ጋር ይዤ አናስረክቤ በቃ እኔ ሰውም እንዳላጠፋ ከመጀመሪያ ማስቤ ነበር
Musa Lepacho is one of the many children recruited by Ethiopia's army and forced to witness the horrors of war firsthand, and had this to say to his brothers and sisters back home.
መሃል ሀገር ያላችሁ ወንድሞቼ እህቶቼ ወደ ጦርነት እንዳትገቡ ገብታችሁ ጦርነቱ አሸጋሪ ከሆነ ለትግራይ ሰራዊት እጃችሁን ስጡ ምንም አያረጓችሁም እንደተባለው እዛ የሚነገረውና እዚህ የሚተገበረው አንድ አይነት አይደለም
Although Ethiopia is one of the 172 nations that have signed to forbid the involvement of children in the battlefield, Abiy Ahmed's government continues to recruit children in its war on Tigray.
The blockade on medical supplies, coupled with the discontinuation of basic services such as banking, has devastated the lives of many who live with chronic illnesses in Tigray. Our reporters spoke to some members of an HIV-positive association, Nur Salam, who have now been pushed to the brink.
Nur Salam HIV-positive Patients Association of Tigray, a local NGO established in 2019, has been caring for more than 300 HIV-positive members before the start of the conflict. However, now, the organization is currently under a financial crisis, as its budget has been terminated by the Ethiopian government following the all-encompassing siege imposed on Tigray. As a result, HIV-positive members of the association are currently finding it difficult to get by. Medina Ahmed is a member of the association and a mother of two, with one being HIV-positive and the other unable to get diagnosed due to lack of supplies. She said that her 4-year-old is forced to take medication previously prescribed for adults, as the medication for children had run out of store.
ያው ምስ ደቀይ ብጣዕሚ ፀግመን እኒአኹ እዚኣ ዓመት ገይራ ግን እንታይ ገይረ ክሕድጋ
Me and my children are in a dire situation. Health professionals had advised me to quit breastfeeding my little daughter, but I couldn't do that because I have nothing at home to feed her. My son is also suffering from lack of medicine, as there is no antiretroviral therapy for children at the health centers around. So medics told me to give him half of the dose prescribed for adults. He is suffering from high fever, especially during the night. On top of that, his strength is declining from time to time. But my greatest fear is for my daughter. I have not yet learned about her condition, whether she's positive or not. The health centers aren't able to diagnose her due to lack of medical supplies.
Kidan Ghebreyesus, another member of the association, said that she, as well as other members, are in their situation due to the ongoing siege that has blocked basic services from entering Tigray.
After قدمت هنا النور ساعات
Before the start of the war, we were in a very good condition. My husband and I used to take our medications properly and on time, and we were able to give birth to 2 healthy children and make our viral load undetectable. But after the siege, we are suffering from lack of medications. I personally was forced to terminate my medication for over a month and became sick afterwards.
Gazach Hadish is also a member of the association. He said that she is starving as the support she used to receive from her 2 children living in Addis Ababa has been terminated following the discontinuation of banking services.
መጀመሪያ ማን ዳዋል ነርና እንኳን ምድዋል ገንዘብ ላይ ሰድለይ ነይረው አየሁ ብልዕ ስተይ
Before the siege, I used to communicate with my children in Addis, and they used to support and encourage me to become strong. But currently, I'm not able to communicate with my children and get any help from them, so I'm in a dire situation.
Millions in Tigray continue to suffer from lack of food and medication while the world watches idly by.
You've been watching Tigray Television's English News. I'm Salama Tigray. Thank you for your time. Bye for now.